In 1620, while the Mayflower was in Provincetown, 18 of its men sailed in a small shallop, searching for a place to live. They came to present-day Eastham, where they were met by a group of Nauset. After a brief but violent encounter, the English left towards today's Plymouth. In 2020, we remember this first encounter. We explore its meanings for today and tomorrow.
Good evening. Welcome to our Sunset Series program this evening. We're very glad to have you back. I'm privileged to be joined tonight by Rebecca Eissenova, who's the Interim Director of the Immigration Law Program at Catholic Social Services for the Diocese of Fall River. Welcome, Rebecca. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And I know that you've looked at, there are on our playlist, if folks haven't had this experience, there's a playlist on the eastham400.org website with different themes, and you can go there and find the playlist for migration theme videos. And there are about there's 4 or 5 now on this playlist, and I think you've looked at some of them, Rebecca. So do you have any, what comes to your heart or mind as you look at those?
Well, I think that they are very heartwarming because one of the themes that is repeated through a lot of them is how welcomed these folks feel now that they are in Cape Cod, that they felt supported along the way. And that before reaching perhaps that point of feeling supported and secured, I heard a lot of similar themes of maybe a little bit of loneliness, a little bit of homesickness, a little bit of wondering how to acclimate myself to a new place and a new culture, a new weather climate, but that they all felt like they had been able to kind of eventually find their way through those things with the support of Cape Cod neighbors.
So your office is in Fall River, but I understand that Catholic Social Services has an office also in Hyannis to serve this area here. Could you share with us what do you do in terms of immigration law? What services does Catholic Social Services provide?
Yes, so our headquarters, as you said, it is in Fall River, but we have a satellite office in Hyannis where we do immigration work. We also normally do English as a second language classes there, and some preparation for citizenship tests there. Some of those are on hold during the pandemic, but those are kind of the community services for immigrants that we offer out of Hyannis. And then my department, the legal department, we take cases out of the Hyannis office for people who are looking to apply for a green card through their family member. People who may be applying for a humanitarian type of visa because maybe they're seeking asylum, or they are a child who was abused or neglected by one of their parents. We offer services to help victims of violent crime connect with victim services, but also get legal status in the U.S. through assisting in investigation of that crime. We help DACA applicants, citizenship, as I mentioned, naturalization in general, and deportation defense for people who ICE has decided they're going to put into immigration court and maybe try to deport. We'll take full representation on all of those case types, pro bono or low bono, depending on the person's ability to pay. And we'll meet people remotely during the pandemic or at other times in person out on Cape Cod where they are to carry out the representation. Thank
you. Tell me now, some folks watching know full well what DACA means, and many of us know that from the media there's been a Supreme Court decision made recently. Could you tell us, DACA, what these words mean, or what is this program about? What should we know as Americans viewing this news about DACA?
Sure, sorry. So DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. So deferred action is a kind of, it's not a visa, it's a kind of status that's in between having no status and having a full visa. but it gives people the right to stay here and not be deported, and rather work here, live here until that status ends, if ever. And it's the childhood arrivals part. It's for people who came here when they were 15 or under. They're young. They were young and crossed through not their own volition, but through their parents bringing them here usually. And so they're sometimes called the dreamers. They're people who are young and they've pursued an education here, and so the administration or the previous administration decided that they should be allowed this status to remain here.
And the Supreme Court decision, what was this, in brief, what was the Supreme Court decision we heard about 2 weeks ago? What was that saying?
Yeah, so that was about the fact that the Trump administration decided that it didn't want to continue the DACA program anymore. And so it just said, no more, that's it. But people who had DACA sued, saying that they had an expectation of being able to continue with this work permit and this status that they had, and it shouldn't have been ended so suddenly. And they challenged on procedural grounds whether DACA should continue to exist or not. And the Supreme Court said they were right, that the Trump administration, although it could end DACA in some other way perhaps, it couldn't end it as suddenly as it did. Mm-hmm. And so now DACA continues to exist.
Well, thanks for that explanation, Rebecca. So when did you move to work, when did you take this job at Catholic Social Services?
I came in the spring of 2018.
And you've worked, I noticed in your resume that you've worked in different parts of the United States in immigration law. When moving here to Massachusetts, you may have had certain expectations about what it would be like here, and maybe the experience has been similar to that or different. So how does working here in immigration law in Massachusetts, how is it the same or different from Tucson or St. Louis or Colorado or other places?
Yeah, so I worked briefly in St. Louis and predominantly in Tucson before this, doing immigration law. And in comparison with Tucson, the types of cases that we see are somewhat different here. In Tucson, you get a lot of people who crossed the border very recently and are seeking asylum predominantly, and a lot of cases where the person is in detention because the current administration likes to put people into detention as soon as they cross the border. And so the docket of deportation cases is high, of detention cases is high, and you are trying to meet the needs of the client in detention on top of helping them navigate complicated immigration laws. And here, there's thankfully not as much of a detention scene, although certainly there are immigrant detention centers in Massachusetts. But the types of cases that I see here are they move more slowly than the cases that happen in the border. And I would say that the culture of the people deciding the cases, the immigration judges in Tucson, as compared to Massachusetts, is very different. The courts are more likely here to listen to and grant an asylum application than in Tucson, where they just use so many every day. And I think they get maybe a little bit jaded with the speed of everything and hearing people all telling the same story, not because they're putting in a fraudulent claim, but because they're coming from the same place and facing the same challenges as one another. But what I see that's similar is just the people who are coming and the folks who are making a journey to the United States in general. It's not about where they're ultimately going in the U.S. They all have something inside of them that has made them want to make this migration. It's a really big move a lot of times. A resiliency, an optimism in some way that once they get here, they will find something better, some freedom or some refuge for some opportunity that they didn't have elsewhere. And that's, I think, common to all the places that I've worked.
What a beautiful way of putting it. Thank you very much, Rebecca. And thank you for joining us for this Sunset series. Folks, I hope that you'll look at all of those segments, episodes in our playlist for migration. Thank you very much, Rebecca.
Thank you, Tom.
My name is Joanna Hollick. Thank you for your support of the Sunset series and Eastham 400. If you're interested in supporting Eastham 400 efforts by purchasing commemorative items, we do have several items for sale on our website, eastham400.org. We are selling gold foil First Encounter ornaments, t-shirts with the Eastham 400 logo, and montages made by a local artist. The ornaments feature an image of the shallop and come with a special description card. The t-shirts are available in light blue, navy, and ash gray, and in sizes adult small through 3XL. The montage depicts watercolor images of important historic and well-known landmarks around the town of Eastham. Each of these items are $20. Thank you.